away we go.
Anyway, remember, the Times actually got their Pulitzer Prize for spreading these outright lies.
Will New York Times watch? Oh, this Heritage Foundation get their Pulitzer Prize back for misleading? Okay, no. It wasn't a Russian hoax. There's absolutely collusion. That we just found out that like Barr and like Durham and Rosenstein, all those guys were like doing everything they could to tamp down the connections. So piss off.
They should definitely give it back.
Yeah, I said totally. Hold on one second. Let me make sure. I feel like there's audio coming in too. Like, is there like a slapback echo, or is it just me? Hopefully it's okay. Is the sound okay, guys? Let me know. Volume-wise, okay? Just checking. I think it's important to check before we get well into a show. Excellent. Okay, cool. Because some of these are, a lot of I will say, and thank you, Vincent. Please, Brian, I hope that helped you understand it. Brian, I'm a lifesaver from the lamestream media. Thank you. I try. $4.99. Thank you, Cammie, for one free mental health day. Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I'm cheaper than a shrink and fucking adorable. So let's get going.
Correct the record and apologize, but don't expect that to happen.
Because they don't have to and there's no reason for them to? Okay.
The New York Times is not truly a news organization. It's basically a PR operation for Biden and the Democratic Party.
Well, then they're doing a shit job explaining that inflation has nothing to do with egg prices and vice versa.
All right, now in the hot seat, we have the co-host of The Five, Geraldo Rivera, along with senior advisor to President Trump, Stephen A. Miller. All right.
I have to say right now, Stephen Miller, Geraldo looks like Stephen Miller wearing a disguise. It's like, these are the same people, but Snapchat filters work wonders.
I'll agree with you, Geraldo, on the surface. I don't think the documents are going to bring down Joe Biden. I don't think it's going to hurt Donald Trump. If it didn't hurt Hillary, everyone's getting away with classified top secret documents. That's not my issue.
My issue isn't that this has been a bunch, me just wagging my wiener in front of a camera for a couple of months, trying to get everybody impressed in the size. And it turns out it wasn't cold outside at all. And that's just its natural state.
I want to know why they found these documents on November 2nd and didn't inform the public until 68 days later. In the interim, during that 68-day interval, they also set up a special prosecutor for Donald Trump, and they also went and visited the Penn Biden Center, and they didn't tell anybody. Yes, they went to Biden's home after they found documents there. But
yeah. And you know what never happened along that way? Never. Not once. Not any moment. Not a single. There was one particular thing that didn't happen. You know what that was? NARA contacting Biden or anybody associated with him and saying, there are documents you have or you in your possession or that you took or that are missing that are from your time in the vice presidency or the Senate. Do you have any idea where those are? That never fucking happened. This wasn't NARA going, what the fuck? This was Biden going, you know what? If we're throwing shit around, we should, do our due diligence and clean house just in case, because stuff happens and I don't want to be caught on the back foot. And they just went looking. And all the stuff they found, by the way, is like, they're like, this is stuff going back to when he was in the Senate. Yeah, that he got out while he was vice president to review previous versions of legislation or previous versions of intel or previous versions of stuff from the State Department or whatever the fuck that he got to look at when he was the Senate and a senator and he worked in the Senate and going, hey, man, wait a minute. Do the people that are still working there, did they forget this shit or is it just me? And then you look at it and you're like, no, they're just lying.
There wasn't the big, there wasn't the siren, the raid, the kicking everybody out like they did Donald Trump.
Action replays in magnified fashion.
Right.
They went to the Rehoboth home, but they allowed Joe Biden to go to that home 10 days prior, knowing they needed to look at that home.
First of all, he's current president of the United fucking States. Period. Also, maybe he planted him when he went there. maybe Biden just wanted to get some hot news, and they weren't there until he went there. How about that? How about those things showed up at his house while he's president, and he had him there during the time he's president? Do I think that's what happened? No, but he doesn't fucking know. The guy's president currently. Trump isn't president, wasn't president during all this shit, didn't declassify this stuff. Otherwise, by the way, if any of what Trump was saying about this shit being declassified was true, any of it, everybody, yourself, myself, them, whether they wanted to or not, would know the contents of it because it would be freely available. You wouldn't even need a fucking FOIA request. You could just request a copy of the document because it's been fucking declassified, like some 1952 UFO, paper.
And I want you to look and talk to this audience directly, and you tell me if that sounds like equal justice and equal application of our laws, and whether or not you want Hunter Biden to have access to top secret classified information.
That's a different issue, the Hunter Biden story. That will work its way out. We are talking about this document scandal. This is a phony scandal, Sean. The documents at Mar-a-Lago was a phony raid. It had nothing to do with the American people. There is zero evidence that either President Biden or former President Trump did anything to compromise national security.
I established that point.
People
I agreed
are
with
upset.
you,
By the way, Sean did not establish that point. He's still, the whole purpose of bringing up Hunter Biden is to give the illusion that because Hunter at some point was an addict and was working with a company that had business in China or something like that, he was sharing intel with him. By the way, if they had that fucking intel, they sure as shit didn't act on it. Also, by the way, sidebar, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Hold on. Whoops, did I jump in here? Yeah, here we go. I have three words for you. Chinese spy balloon. Have you guys heard about this? There is a Chinese spy balloon over Montana. That's it. That's no moon. Yeah, that's a Chinese spy satellite, specifically a drifting fucking balloon. Size of 3 buses, been flying over the northern U.S., which is, by the way, where NORAD is, but it's also where, like, the majority of, like, the natural gas industry in the United States is. There's all kinds of shit. It's like, hey, that's the moon. That's it. There's the moon. And where is it? Boop, there it is. That little guy right there. That is a Chinese spy balloon. They're going to, by the way, they're going to shoot it down. They're going to shoot it down, and then there's going to be a big press conference of, they've been monitoring it as it's hovering over Montana. Understand, it's under Joe Biden's watch, developed the capability to fly balloons in the sky. Come on. This has to be a parody. That's got, somebody's fucking around. That's ridiculous. She can't have written that. The fuck out of here. That sounds like something Trump would write, by the way. That's, parody by Rub. There it is. I'm like, come on. Folks, please. Chinese spy balloon. There we go. Yep, that's it. That's its little, like, solar panels to drive it, I guess. Yep, just a giant listening device headed across the northern part of the United States. George Hahn. The Pentagon says there's a Chinese spy balloon flying over the U.S., which is why more people should be having outdoor sex. Give them a good show, kids. Right. Oh, my God. They zoomed in on it. Yeah, Pentagon tracking suspected Chinese spy balloon. Under Biden, Pentagon tracks spy balloon for days, and U.S. does not shoot it down. Abandoning Americans and 85 military, but won't secure border. The Biden administration is impotent. Remember, everything she says about anything, it's about Trump. Yeah, they're tracking it. They're also jamming it. They're also going to shoot it down. They're going to capture it. They just don't want it to, here's the thing. You shoot it down and it's got a decelerometer in it and it tells it knows it's falling, so it self-destructs, that kind of thing. Do I think they have that tech? But they definitely have the materials to make it. Do they have the capability to make it, or did they think that through? I don't know. But if you want it and you want to be able to examine it, then you don't, I love it. It's like they're tracking, but the Pentagon will not shoot it down. All of a sudden, the Pentagon have become such pussies. Yeah, so let's see. Breaking: U.S. three U.S. Air Force strata tankers have been spotted flying over Montana, where a giant Chinese spy balloon is seen. Yeah, there it is. Yep, that's a close up of it. Was this? I received is Governor Gianforte today of Montana. From spy balloon, Chinese communists spying on Americans through TikTok, CCP link companies buying American farmland. I'm deeply troubled. Blah blah. Okay. Anyways, we'll see how this plays out. President Biden must answer why he has not secured U.S. airspace. They literally have 3 planes circling it right now. As for military options after the balloon was spotted, yeah, right, exactly. There was that thing about it had to actually get in U.S. airspace and they had to see it first. More than likely, it was up really high, so high it wasn't really gathering anything worth a fuck. And then they tried to lower it to get some shit that they could use and whatever. Why the U.S. didn't shoot down the Chinese pilot? Let's see what Time Magazine says. Get out of here. There it is. Why they didn't do it. Okay. All right. I know. All right. Has detected and is tracking a high-altitude surveillance balloon that is over the continental United States right now. The balloon is currently traveling at an altitude well above commercial air traffic. It does not present a military or physical threat to the people on the ground. Biden's briefed on the matter when he asked Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin to develop options against the large, slow-moving balloon. According to this, who wasn't authorized to speak publicly on the matter, the Pentagon had considered scrambling fighter jets to shoot it down as it traveled over Montana, but determined not to do so out of fears such an act create a debris field and endanger Americans on the ground. Yeah. They got it! All right. The official said U.S. military worked with civilian aviation authorities to put a halt on flights coming in and out of the city of Billings, Montana, and Billings in southern Montana. Even mobilized F-22s, which are the Air Force premier air combat, blah, blah, blah. We put some things on station in the event that the decision to bring this thing down while it was over Montana. Wanted to make sure empty to our airspace and that potential area. But even those with protected measures taken, it was the judgment of our military commanders that didn't drive the risk low enough, so we didn't take the shot. It's significantly above this. The administration has determined the balloon doesn't give the China any additional surveillance capabilities beyond what it already can collect through spy satellites currently orbiting. When the balloon was detected, the official said the military acted swiftly to guard against Chinese collecting sensitive information. The current flight path does carry it over a number of sensitive sites. Out of an abundance of caution, we have taken additional mitigation steps, which is just they turned on the Vulcan or the Romulan cloaking device. Montana is one of 5 states that have the Minutemen. Yeah, right. In recent years, a handful of surveillance balloons have been spotted, but this one is appearing to hang out for a longer period of time. The engine failed on it or something like and by the way, in recent years, a handful of surveillance balloons have been spotted. So we just didn't hear about the ones that happened during Trump because he was president in recent years, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, back to where we were. So
over a story that does not matter.
But you're not answering my question.
But the story of Hunter Biden.
Why did they raid Mar-a-Lago, but they don't raid any of Biden's homes?
Because he's cooperating and Trump wasn't. The only reason there's a problem is because Trump fought to keep shit that NARA had said. That you have that in your position, you're not supposed to have it. At no point did they ever say that we are aware of to Biden or anybody associated with him. Hence the shit being there. Because if they had, you don't think we would have heard about it during the Trump administration, for fuck's sake?
Why is it they didn't tell the American people for 68 days? Why didn't they tell us before the election?
Because it has nothing to do with the election?
When they knew 6 days before the election. Do you think that's fair? Is that fundamentally fair?
Because none of the classified documents dealt with a woman's right to choose. How about that?
the American people?
I believe that what is happening now with Joe Biden, in part, consciously or subconsciously, is a reflection of the authorities, the Department of Justice,
Geraldo, I love you
attempting
dearly.
to show the American people
Should
that they
the
are being
American
even-handedly.
people
See, we
have been
raided
told-
Trump. Now let's raid Biden.
Should the American people have
This
been
is
told
the-
before November 8th in the midterm? They knew that he had the documents.
By that, that's
That's
it
what?
was so in its infancy. This whole story was so much in its infancy that
They
to hold
found
for
top
asking
secret
Biden to hold a
classified
press
documents.
conference before the midterms and say, "Oh, by the way, the
You're not
FBI is
gonna
going to raid
answer.
my house," or the
Let's go
FBI
to
thinks I
Stephen
stole
Miller.
documents, is absurd.
Stephen Miller, is that fair?
No, this was a cover-up, a concealment to try once again to influence the American electoral process. It's what we have been seeing now for.
It was a midterm. None of the House members had anything to do with this. None of the Senate members had anything to do with this. Didn't have anything to do with it. Wasn't like they were on the side of letting classified documents be in the wind. It was immaterial to the midterms. And again, why would anyone, if you want to have a reason for delaying bad news, is because you know other people would take your mistakes, your foibles, in the case of Trump, your criminality, and use it against people of your party who are running when it has nothing to do with them.
6 years. The deep state, the Department of
The deep state,
Justice, now the National
and then a Illuminati, and then a deep state, and the people are the eyes wide shut people.
Archives, are trying to play God in our elections to decide.
Yes, NARA is trying to play God. These basically these clerks, these like national security clerks, who are like, that should go back in that file. That's who do you think you fucking are, God of file cabinets?
Whether Republicans win or whether Democrats win. This information was kept from the American people to.
Oh, you mean like Jim Jordan kept the news of rapes at OSU from the American people when he was running for his House seat and continues to do so? Does that count?
Try to influence the outcome of the election. I'll say one more thing. You cannot divorce this scandal from the fact that Hunter Biden, as you discussed with Senator Ted Cruz, is engaged in dealings with foreign governments. And the money that Hunter Biden is earning is then subsidizing the lifestyle of Joe Biden. So
Yes, he did pay for some shutters, I hear. Although after I hear that he rented that house, I'm going to guess that in a cracked out orgy, he ripped the shutters off and went, come and take pictures of me, coppa.
have to know, we must know, how is this classified
If any
information
of that
being
was
used
true,
to line
if that
Biden's
was true,
family
hold it,
pockets?
Stephen. If that was true, isn't there a U.S. attorney that has been probing Hunter Biden now for a couple of years at least? Has he not come up with anything? This is a story that exists. This is a media story. This is, you got my guy, Trump. Now I'm going to get your guy, Biden. I think of far more interest right now, Sean, and you alluded to it, and it's one of the things that Stephen Miller and I...
Why does Geraldo only have to make sense like 20% of the time? Why can't we have the 20% Geraldo all the time? Oh, because he works at Fox. That's right. I'm sorry. He's got mouths to feed.
Rare things that we agree on is that Russiagate was a phony scandal.
No,
Let me ask you this.
we do not. Also, hashtag fuck Carter Page.
Well, I will take that opportunity because agreement is important to say that
Russiagate, the three of us will agree
Russiagate
on.
not only is a massive scandal, but the fact that the Columbia Journalism Review, as Sean said, a left-wing publication, came out today and condemned the New York Times and other publications.
I agree.
This is a moment. This is a moment
I agree.
where
Let
we
me
need to
ask you
have
both one last
introspection
question.
in the media about what
And
they did to
that's where
Donald
the
Trump.
focus should be.
This is, by the way, can I remind everybody, can I take a second while they're jabbering over each other, to remind you that this is the time when Republicans it was smooth sailing. They've got the House, and they're going to show everybody who's boss, and everything will it's just be on a glide path. Just so you know, this this is supposed to be the moment where they were like, finally, the tides are turning.
I want to ask a last question.
Please. And let it be the fun, and then sign off forever. Is this Sean Hannity's last show? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, look down upon us. Sorry.
When you look at the astronomical amount of money that the Bidens made, and Joe Biden's lie that he never talked to Hunter or any family member about their foreign business.
Again, the companies made this money. Hunter apparently got either a salary or a cut or both, depending on what the deal was. But for all it seems like, if considering the trouble, the issues he had paying his assistant at one point, doesn't it seem like there wasn't that much money going around? Honestly, wouldn't their houses be a lot fucking bigger? And again, what is this idea that Biden is he's just sitting on $1 billion till what? Till he's 80 to experience the good life? Who the fuck waits this long to sell out their country? And by the way, for what? Shutters? Get the fuck out of here.
You know it's a lie, Geraldo. And
yes, here's the lie. And I can't stress this. This part drives me nuts. Every time I fucking hear it, it's always Beijing, Biden, owned by China, and Russians in Ukraine have them on the puppet strings. If the Chinese, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating, if the Chinese gave Hunter Biden and thereby Joe Biden $1 billion+ to buy influence when and if he becomes president, because again, this happened after he was vice president, whatever the fuck, to make him bend American foreign policy to the benefit of China. For the record, China got fucked in that deal. I don't know how anyone looks at the CHIPS Act, the AUKUS agreement, the current ships we're sending to protect Taiwan and go through the South China Sea, the bases we're opening up in the fucking Philippines, and says China is getting a sweet deal. China's getting the wheels greased for them. The way they did, by the way, under Donald Trump, who was a way cheaper date. $17 million in a secret account that he took $15 million out in cash. That's it. Because if you'll recall, if everything these guys say about COVID being a bioweapon from China is true, and they really believe this, that means Donald Trump was president during the worst bioweapon attack in American, if not world history, and his response to the attackers was to say their leader was doing a very professional job and selling them all of our beef, corn, pork, and soybeans. I mean, if they paid Biden $1 billion, they got fucked. Because, again, Trump did it on the cheap.
Okay, I'll pick 3 countries. Ukraine, where he admits he had no experience and made millions.
You don't need experience in oil and gas to be an investment broker. You don't. You sit there, you're on the board, you go, okay, can I see the books? Yeah. All right. You know the money we said are supposed to go to new wells? Yeah. Is it going to new wells? Yes, it is. What about the stuff that's going to build pipelines? That's going to build pipelines? Yes, it is. That's why. The reason they wanted to use his company and the reason the Biden name was important was because he couldn't fuck off to Russia like everybody else. Burisma used to be one of the most corrupt oil and gas companies on earth. Now it's not. Again, if I put if somebody put a gun to your head and they said you have to invest all the money you've saved for your child's future on Burisma before Hunter Biden went there or after Hunter Biden worked there, which one would you choose? You would, of course, choose after, because you would make money on your investment.
Russia, millions, no experience. China, one.
Also, what do you mean no experience? What's the Russia no experience? Because the idea is that they did, like Rosemont Seneca did a series of investments for the mayor of Moscow's wife. And she, up till, I don't know, she vanished. She was the richest woman in Moscow because she turned in her husband who was corrupt, but either not corrupt enough or too corrupt for well, I don't know what their fucking window is, but they scooped him up and fucked up. She was left with a bunch of money, but not enough and no means to grow it without her corrupt husband there. So she put that in Rosemont Seneca or whatever money she had into that, the $3 million of it, and said, make me some money on this. That doesn't mean you get to keep the $3 million. Here's this is fascinating. This motherfucker is in New York City. Sean Hannity is in New York City. There is no fucking way that Sean Hannity, millionaire that he is, or just hanging around in New York as long as he had that close to fucking Wall Street, thinks that if an investor gives a broker money, the broker now gets to keep that money. Who the fuck believes that? Who even thinks like that? It's the goofiest shit. The same thing with the alleged China deal, which happened 3 years, I think, before Biden even worked with that company. But even still, let's say you believe China gave you the $1 billion. You get to keep a percentage of the profits. That's how investment works. If I invest the money for you and it makes money, I get to keep a portion of it. That's usually how those things work. If they gave him $1 billion and never expected anything back, again, it was a straight up bribe and they got screwed because whatever they were bribing him for, they didn't get it. And if anything, let's say they gave him $1 billion and said, how about if you got to do this? And if you don't change U.S. policy, we're going to release a bunch of ugly shit about your son, right? And that means Biden went, fuck you, and Hunter can handle it. And then these assholes are carrying, the Chinese blackmail right to market, right? Because again, if they were expecting to get something out of Biden, it's nowhere near what they got out of Trump. And it's the worst turn in U.S. policy towards China since before Nixon.
$5 billion deal, Bank of China. $5 million no interest forgivable loan.
Okay, all right.
$100,000 shopping spree. You look at these countries, hostile to America.
Ukraine is not hostile to America, just for the record. Like to clarify.
Hunter Biden, does it not stink to high heaven the millions of dollars that he and his family made?
And I don't know why this asshole's nodding, because no. If he made a bunch of money off, and specifically he's talking about Russia and China particularly, are we all of a sudden, is Biden acting any way close to receptive to China's moves the way Trump was? Anywhere, or Russia's for that matter especially. Anywhere fucking close.
Do you not see this as a serious need?
Don't say Nazis, you'll give Steve a boner.
See a serious need for investigation for influence peddling here?
If it is true, then why the hell hasn't the U.S. attorney told us over 2 years now that they have been probing Hunter Biden, that he's more than just a junkie or a whoremonger or all the other things
Geraldo,
that he demonstrates to the world in his shameful tapes? But it's not,
Steve Miller, that's a lot of money.
It is not national security.
They're
It's not
rolling
national
off
security.
the
National security.
This is, by the way, can I just say, reminder, this is awesome. They're so mad that Hunter Biden to them is like a giant Christmas gift sitting under the tree that was huge, like a fucking refrigerator box. And they were like, oh my God, greatest Christmas ever. And they unwrapped it, and inside was a slightly smaller box, and a smaller box, and a smaller box. And it just kept going down like, you guys, probably going to be a diamond ring at the end of it. And inside was a a gift card to a recycling center. What's this for? Oh, if you use this, they'll come pick up all the cardboard from the boxes. Fuck you! Like that's what this is. Oh, it's so sweet.
Hillary, they're walling off the influence peddling, just like they did with Hillary, because the deep state,
Illuminati, establishment, Rhino, DNC, the Pentaveret, lizard people
wants the influence peddling to continue because when they leave government, that's how they get rich.
Yeah, that's right. Biden's waiting till he leaves government to get rich. He never intended to leave government, you fuck. He only didn't run for president right after Obama because his son died. And also, I honestly believe he did not want to run against Hillary because he thought she could win, and he was like, a woman president would be fantastic. Genuinely. But the reason he didn't get into the primary and push for it was because his son was sick. And so he decided to go for the cancer moonshot afterwards. And at what point does this motherfucker think his son's not going to be in office? None of his kids are planning on being in office. Bo is the only one who had a shot, and he died. Who the fuck?
That's why it's called the swamp.
That's why it's called the swamp. It's called the swamp because it sounds murky and dangerous and septic and gross. And the great thing about a swamp is you can hide bodies in it and bullshit about what's in there, even while you have a cabin where you live as a poacher in it. It's a facade. The swamp idea is a fucking facade, just like establishment, just like all these fucking wall words that are there to make you think there's an opaque group of people behind this that you don't even understand, because you can fucking understand. You just have to pay attention. So what they do is they get these folks that are like got this like half-assed attention span about shit, just enough to get mad or just enough to get depressed about stuff, and then they can string them along by their fucking nose for years, going, oh, behind the scenes, there's a whole thing. It's the entire Alex Jones fucking business model.
Well,
see,
okay.
That rhetoric is why we get nothing done, because we can't focus on the fact that right now Russiagate is being exposed for all the world to see.
That we agree on, Geraldo. You are 100% right.
Was the malignancy
on that
of the
issue?
Trump
Geraldo's right. I agree
on that one area, but the rest of it, fuck him. By the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide on my slapdash functions. I have everything coming up on here. Hold on one second. There's I thought I turned the second name off. I mean, it's a little overkill, don't you think? Yeah, there you go. I turned that off earlier. Very confusing. Hi. And hi, chat room. Thanks for hanging in there. Honest to God, I have this, there's this ongoing thing. None of these assholes, and again, maybe it's, you know how they say, like, there's all those phrases, like, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, or, in stocks, they're like, if everybody's buying, sell, and vice versa. That is, in many ways, the root of my absolute aversion to conspiracy theories these days. Because I gotta say, it not only is it fucking tired, but there's been no there for so long. But on top of that, these conspiracies are an excuse for why these people fail to do what they promise. Because if you always have the swamp or the deep state or the rhinos or the blah, blah, blah stopping you, it would be easy to do if this mythical fucking gargoyle living in the woods, I would have found the best farmland. I would have found the best fruiting tree. I would have killed the biggest elk if it hadn't been for the gargoyle in the woods. And it's these days, not only do conspiracies, deafen ears against reality, not only do they undermine anybody's kind of faith in regular life and other people, but it also, it's the biggest part of it is it's a fucking excuse. Donald Trump was president of the United States of America for 4 fucking years. 4 years. Think about the next 4 years of your life and all the goals you set and stuff like that. And by yourself, stuff you intend or want to have happen in the next 4 years, stuff you're actually putting off because you're like, yeah, I'll get to that. I'll have plenty of time in 4 years. And this motherfucker had not only his own White House staff, which are under orders to carry out basically almost any whim he has within reason, but the substructure of the military and the DOJ and all these kind of things, that anything legit, legal, or constitutional, you could fucking swing for the fences. 4 fucking years. But not only was he stifled by this mysterious fucking deep state booty fucking who, which by the way was supposed to keep him from getting elected in the first place. Not only did everything, it's just, he's such a genius, but he couldn't get past that wall. You might have looked at him and think, this jackass is flailing and making shit up as he goes along and picking some of the dumbest ideas we've heard in years. And when he tries them out, they actually, like the wall actually makes the border fucking worse than it was before. You might think that, but it's not that. It's the gargoyle in the fucking woods. Everything would be okay in your life, but for the gargoyle in the fucking woods. And I'm just tired of it, especially when these motherfuckers call us like snowflakes and say we're victims all the time, and that we don't take, that they're the party of personal responsibility and all that shit. Stop blaming the fucking establishment or the deep state or the fucking Illuminati. It's embarrassing. And I'm just over it. And it's to the point where every time I hear somebody even start down that road, and it just sounds like they're just parroting Ron Paul shit from 2002, you're like, no. Extraordinary, what is it? Extraordinary tales, extraordinary assertions require extraordinary proof. And they never have any of it. There is enough anecdotal death, murder, destruction, warring, resource fights, good and bad corporations jockeying for an ever-shrinking piece of the pie, fucking volcanoes, potential pandemics, all that kind of stuff. There's enough of those that you could just, if you can thread them all together and make this gigantic fantasy out of it. You'll never run out. There's always enough anecdotal evil that you can somehow go, oh, but this happened, and then this happened, and why was this happen? This because you have access to more information than anybody on the fucking earth in the history of humankind, because you live right now. Humans are pattern-seeking animals, and you're gacked on fucking Ritalin and Adderall. That's why. Holy shit. And at this point, maybe that's the biggest conspiracy of all, is that they're just they've worked my conspiracy nerve all the way down to the nub, so that one day when there is a giant conspiracy, I'll just doubt it till it's too late. There was a show, if I may. There was a show on British television for years, and I love this show. If there's a show I want to do when I'm an old man, it's it's going to be a version of this show. It was called Connections. And they did a second one called Connections 2, which was even better. And what they did was the host would take 3 different inventions, or an invention, a historical turning point, like a war that was won or lost, or the ascension of a particular king, or the downfall of a particular ruler, or whatever, in different periods of time, and go, this is why you have a Xerox. Because at this point, this person during the Bronze Age discovered how to separate carbon out, and then that they used that technology for a long time, but it was stopped at this point because this king died and something else took over, and everybody had forgotten about it for a long time. And then in 1952, this happened, and whatever. Connections would just go, if these things in history had not happened in the order they happened in, that you wouldn't have this thing. It was great. It was really terrific. Yeah, James Burke. Love that show. And Alex Jones and Stephen Miller and fucking all these assholes that Russell Brand. Not only are they weaponizing fear, because it's a great way to make a fucking living. I was talking to Summer earlier today, and she does her Facebook videos and stuff, and she's having a great time doing it. But she did one of these videos, and there's a joke that they made a video version of where they just talk about it, and it was just another girl telling her a joke, which is, she goes, you know why there's never a pregnant Barbie? Because Ken comes in a separate box, or comes in another box, and that's it's a gag. Okay. So they just did a video of it and posted it online of one person telling the joke to the other person. And a bunch of people jumped in and went, there was a pregnant Barbie. And there is. And it's fucked up. It looks like something from Aliens. It looks more like looks like a Ripley doll, because the belly comes off and it's like C-section Barbie. It's completely fucked up. And all these people were like, no, there was one. And she was like, she had so much engagement on this one. And I really realized that, like, the way you get engagement is by being wrong. like you will get more engagement, and it's probably why I've, my numbers grow slower than other channels. But one of the ways you can get a lot of attention is just say something really shitty and wrong, and then you'll get people who are just as shitty and wrong as you jumping in, and then you'll have everybody else who knows you're absolutely full of shit jumping in, and poof, you got double the audience. Outrageous. That's right. Yeah, the money in social media is being wrong. And I just like that. I just kind of occurred to me in watching this. And the same thing is true of like conspiracy theories, because they're unprovable and undisprovable. They're unfalsifiable. Like the atheist argument against the existence of religion is always that it's unfalsifiable. You can't prove that it doesn't exist, so therefore the essence is that it exists, and an unfalsifiable is a conversation, stopper, essentially. If you argue something that's unfalsifiable, you can't even have a discussion about it. That's what conspiracy theories are. And as a matter of fact, you could argue the conspiracy theories are a religion of the sort of new Darwinists. Are they all atheists? I can't tell. Are they fake Christians, a lot of them? Fuck yeah. But do they believe something's beyond death? It's hard to separate their bullshit from their truth. But they are definitely selling the idea that an unfalsifiable idea, because none of us are going to get to barge in on an Illuminati fucking eyes wide shut party, start throttling somebody and go, was that really a weather balloon at Area 51? Like, you know what I mean? So forever. Like it's just so fucking easy. Oh, somebody gifted a bunch of subs? I didn't see that. Bonnie, thank you. The gargle story is worth more than anything I've seen or heard this week. Oh, thank you. That's amazing. WTF, just watching them argue amongst themselves is adorable. I agree. Tony, thank you. Did I miss those? The gifted, maybe they haven't shown up yet. But But anyways, thanks everybody, by the way, for supporting the show, gifting subs, being a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/HalSparks. You could do it monthly or yearly these days. I've added Midjourney and ChatGPT to the two Patreon servers, so you guys can mess around with those things without having to do it on the crowded website. Because one of the things about using like Midjourney or the image creator AIs is that everybody's using them in the same feed all at once. So if you ask for a picture, as you're waiting for it to come up, everybody else is too, and you're like, where the fuck was the thing I made, right? So in the Discord that patrons have an access to, you guys you have to sign up to be, for a Midjourney account to use it because it goes through that thing. But if you use it in the chat room in the Discord, you'll have a lot more. It's easier. It's an easier thing. So, anyways, I'm now operating on from the premise that not only are highly conspiratorial people, and I'm not talking about like businesses price fixing amongst themselves or regular run of the mill conspiratorial acts by business and whatever. I'm talking about the big spider web bullshit. They're in everything and everywhere, both sides of every war bullshit. Because it's like none of the people who say that, none of the people that I've seen talk like that aren't selling something out of it. I'm just saying. They're all selling prepper shit and books about how to make money at the same time. And I'm like, what the fuck are you going to spend it on if the world's ending in a couple of years? I don't know what the fuck. It just drives me crazy. Anyways, I rant's over. I love you guys when you chat. Thanks for giving me letting me. By the way, yes, I have a new book out right now called The End of the World Isn't Half Bad. No.